again with the massive modular board, and we have the village tiles which you are seeing here in front of you. So these are a kind of modular tile system, modular paths, and then one village square. There's magnets all over these. I think there's 64 magnets in total across the tiles. And look, I even drew plans, which you can't see because of the exposure on the light. But anyway, I had plans for all of these. Now, the modular path system basically means that there's 5 centimeter paths which connect at the sides. So, drawing a little line 12.5 and 17.5 centimeters from each corner means you end up with 5 centimeter paths at the kind of quarter points and halfway points of the respective sides. You can nearly see what I've drawn there. Now, with this first one, I did something a little bit interesting in that I cut out 4 of the bits and then lowered the path down. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second if you haven't seen the tile already. This is something I came up with and shared with Mark, the buyer, and I was like, trust me on this, I reckon it will look good. And I reckon I was right. So, that's always good to know. So with these bits cut out, I took a moment and got a little bit confused about how everything was going to work. And before then going, right, okay, get my handheld hot wire cutter. So I haven't sped this bit up, so I want to show you the level of accuracy I can work to sometimes. So starting at that height there and then very slowly going down to nearly base level. So a very gentle slope, one that models would be able to be on absolutely fine. And then I did the opposite on the other side. So worked down to base level and pulling it slowly towards me, bringing it up to height at as close to the edge as I dare. And there you go. So that is what I did across the rest of it, and very, very slowly on this long, long one here like this, and then cut out the middle to make that as low as possible. And I think this is, it took a while, but I do think it was worthwhile doing. And slotting all of the other bits back into position again, you can see what this is all about. And when it had scenery on it, it looked a lot better. Now, the edges I wanted to make look more like they were deliberate. So I marked out the space which I would have to fill in, and then kind of just did circles and lines that kind of roughly trying to draw some sort of cobblestone design so that it looked like more like a deliberate thing rather than this random path thing. So you'll see in a second how that ended up looking like. Nice and simple to do, just a not even a sharp pencil. You can see that's what it was like before it was painted. Took 5 minutes, and I think very much worthwhile doing just for a little optional extra. And I also did some tinfoil rolling on all of the different paths on the different tiles, and it was a complete waste of time. Wouldn't waste your time doing that if unless you're not flocking it. So the other tiles, I had designs drawn out, just how I wanted the paths to join up, and then just drew the lines and then did a tinfoil roll. To stick these down, what I did was pop what looks like about half a litre of PVA glue down, and very carefully, without dropping it, put it down onto the bit of wood. And once it was there, I made sure it was nicely done with all of the edges before putting a good amount of weight on top. If you're using PVA glue, you do want to make sure it is, it doesn't instantly adhere, so you want to make sure it's stuck down nicely. What's also nice is goodenoughscenery.com. There's a very neat segue into an advert for this website, which tells you all about my different boards and how to get in contact if you want to order one of your own. So there's that. Anywho, back to the modular board, and we're talking about the village square now. So I started with one of the 60 by 30 tiles, and then took some 10mm foam and cut a bit that was about the same size before then rounding off the edges and providing myself with a rough shape of what the top of this would look like. Basically, the village square is a very slightly raised bit of ground, which is covered in earthy flock to make it look quite nice, I think. But to get from one height to another, you want to have a nice slant. So I very carefully, this is sped up quite a lot. I very carefully went around the edge, providing this gentle slope. Wasn't being too concerned about whether models would be able to sit on it, but didn't want it to be a kind of sheer thing, and I didn't want it to be a too flat thing. So I wanted there to be a nice amount of open space for scatter terrain to be on the top. So this is the angle I kind of went for all of the way around. Whether it looks realistic, I don't know, but it worked with what the buyer mark was after, and that's what it would look like there. And then I did the marks for the modular tile, modular path system, I should say, so that it could all join up. And I marked exactly where the paths would line up with the raised section, which meant I could then go around with the handheld hot wire cutter and just cut out little slopey bits there, just to like really sell the idea of this being kind of an intentional villagey area rather than something else. I then did a complete tinfoil roll for no apparent reason, as I've already said. It was a complete waste of time. But anyway, I did it, so that's what happened. Gluing it exactly the same way. A full 19 liters of glue went on there. That's not true. Before lining it up, putting it on top, and then doing a similar thing on top here. Yeah, that is way too much. I think I scooped half of that back into the jug, whatever it is, container, bottle, something. Anyway, line that up with where the path should be going, and then put lots of weight on top of it again, making sure that the middle in particular had a good amount of weight in it, because that can bow up. Now, once these were all glued down, it was time to paint them, so that all of them had the same base coat of brown paint with PVA glue. So slap this over every inch of the entire thing, um, and then mixed up some flock. So the flock, I think I used 3 different types. I think there was a good 4 or 5 bags worth of flock. Just what I like to do is provide slightly different shades of green, so it's not just one color. It's lots of different colors, and just once you've mixed them all up, just giving it a really, really good shake. And in fact, if you were putting lots of flock down, giving that bag a big shake, because you get different grades, and the kind of the smaller grains will fall to the bottom, and then you're not getting the same color across the whole thing. Now, as you may have seen in the previous videos, these boards are full of magnets, so 16 magnets per tile for these village ones. So these are the first tiles I made, actually, and I started by using a little file to make a hole, and then I realized I want to make a circular hole for a circular thing. Why am I not using a drill? So I went back over those holes with a drill of the same diameter, and put a little bit of glue in there, pushed a magnet in, making sure all of them are the same way up. I've covered this in previous videos. Bit of glue on top, and then a bit of flock on top of that, and you have a concealed magnet. What I like about them is you can't really see them, and if you're not looking, but if you're looking for them, then you can see them, so you know exactly where you can put scenery down. But these mean that you can mark, the new owner can put his scatter terrain down as he wants to, and it's held fairly firmly in place. It's not, stuck solid, but it's pretty good. On to the flocking. So these were all done in the same way. So smothering them in glue to begin with, and then I can see I'm marking out the tile. Sorry, the path. I keep saying tile rather than path. Marking out where the paths are, so I know where to put the flock down. And just putting the green flock down. Went nearly up to the edges, because but not quite. Later on, I did actually go up to the edges, tipping off the excess. I should have flipped that quicker, because I ended up getting way too much green stuff onto the brown area. But you can clear that up with your finger, and it actually ends up looking like mud, which is quite nice. So having gone across the entirety of that, that was still obviously wet glue, so I could use the earthy flock to go back over the path thing. Nearly said tile again. Going back over the path and ending up looking something like that, which I think is pretty decent. And I did a similar thing across all of the rest of them as well. Finally, I got some grey paint, and those stones I kind of marked out in the that kind of lower section, I painted all of them. So just with a little brush, taking some time, going over each and every little bit. Well worth doing that, because you will see in a second when we cut to it, it does look like something. I mean, I don't know if it looks like it's a deliberate thing, or it looks like that's just what the rock is like in that position, but either way, I think it looks good. And I finished it all off with some little flowers and some little hedges, which were just stuck on with PVA glue. So yeah, those are the village tiles, getting close to the ends. There's the big hill and the waterfall left to show you. If you want to support the channel, head to goodenoughscenery.com to buy a board, or head to patreon.com/goodenoughscenery, where you can support the channel and get early access to things for just $2 a month. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you for another video soon.